Welcome to Scale With Us, the podcast for business owners navigating the absolute chaos of scaling a business and juggling all that life throws at you along the way.
Each week, we'll be talking about our wins and fails and everything in between because let's be real, it's not all smooth scaling.
So grab a drink, settle in, and let's get into it.
Hey. Hello.
Welcome back. It's funny because we already recorded a few episodes today, so it's so
Good to see you.
Nice to see you. Good seeing you in all of these many years. What are you drinking over there?
It is, well, I wouldn't say fancy, but it's Monsuta. It's a Japanese alcoholic, very strong drink because it's about, 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon?
Yeah, we may as well. Well, I've got an espresso martini because it'll pick me up, George. How was yours?
Oh, it's actually really yummy. So it's about 7.3% alcohol. Tastes like pineapple juice.
I love that, like, you and I still choose our alcohols based on what has the most alcoholic content, like we're 18 still. We went to the bottle shop earlier and it was just like, oh, that one's only got 4.7. Ugh.
And then I was like, what are we, 18?
Yeah,
we're not trying to get drunk.
Unless we are. That's something we're very good at.
Yeah.
Stop. Oh, well, that's good.
What about you? Well, I know what you're drinking. It's a martini. But how are you? What's happening? What's on your mind?
What's on my mind? Well, interestingly, with what we're going to talk about today, we were just talking as we were walking back to the studio just then. Every time I do any training, I submit a feedback form out to the team. And I had some of the responses come back. And look, most of them are really lovely, but there was a few that were like, 8 out of 10. And I take criticism so personally. I'm like,
kill me.
Because I put so much into everything as well. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what are they? And in this instance, the responses are like, the training could have been shorter, or we already did some similar content to that, right? And like, I was like really frustrated because like I've been hired to go in and do this as like a one-off training session. So I don't know what training they've done previously. And I was booked for 4 hours. So I made sure the session was fully packed for 4 hours, right? And I think like it's interesting because in that session I was talking about like mindset and being open to feedback and criticism. But it's funny how that first inkling is like, I've done something wrong or people aren't happy with me.
Yeah.
Whereas, really probably that's on the person who's organised it to make sure that it meets their needs.
Yeah.
But then, like just as we were thinking before, I was like, oh, okay, well, but what can I learn from this? Okay, so maybe I do need to ask some more questions around, okay, what training has the team done recently to make sure there's, very minimal crossover, or, like as a default, like I'm booking in a 4-hour half-day training session, but maybe it's an additional question. Hey, well, you've got up to 4 hours. Do you want 4 hours, or do you think, how long do you want it to go for? Because I didn't ask those questions in my process. And, and today we had planned to talk about, customer experience and things like that. And I suppose feedback is, it's the way that we're going to know how our customers are. And so if I apply my growth mindset, then I can not be like, annoying, and I can actually, learn and grow from that. And we have, we have intake forms for new clients now. So that can be some of the questioning that we're asking. So I suppose that's what I'm thinking about and trying not to be hard on myself. And when I don't get 10 out of 10, the perfectionist in me is,
exactly. Yeah. But yeah, same with me with, like, we send out questionnaires to our clients and to our VAs to see even what the VA's rating the client in terms of working together, and the team show like the client ones to me. And if it's not a 10 out of 10, I'm like, I take it personally, even though it's not, I'm not their VA working in their business, but it's like, okay, how can we make that VA perform better? What coaching can we give that VA? What resources? We've got our Agency Academy now with like 50 courses in there. Could we help that VA upskill to then perform better so they get a 10 out of 10?
Or is it like some in those instances, is it unavoidable? Like, is it just a personality clash in those instances? Is it just that those two people should, maybe not be working together? I know you do some of that personality stuff to make sure you've got good matches going on. But again, that has probably something you've changed, has probably come from that feedback, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We need to make sure they're a fit to work together. Yeah. Different styles of personality work well together. So, But again, it comes from having that pain. You don't just make all these changes for the fun of it most of the time.
Well, I suppose that's the conversation we were going to have today is like, okay, if you're making change in your business, you know, a lot of the talk, not just in our industry, but outside is, okay, making sure you're making a really customer-focused, customer-centric business based on, you know, what they want and what their feedback and experience is. And I think sometimes we can think, oh, I need to do or change or implement that thing, but is it actually going to improve the customer experience? An old coach that I work with had some really great advice on her decisions about things. Just go, okay, is it going to make the business more revenue, or is it going to improve the customer experience? And like, if it didn't do one of those two things, she might add a third metric.
Yeah,
it's like, well, why? You know, why are we doing it? So it was good to have that metric and measure. But it's like, it's okay. Well, then, for us to move forward and create more customer-centric businesses, I suppose, what are we currently doing and what do we want to be doing as far as moving our businesses more towards that? Because, you know, you've gone through a lot with, you know, learning as you get bigger, churn gets bigger. Yeah. There's some avoidable churn, but there's some unavoidable churn that comes into business. So it's like we've got to make sure that any unavoidable churn is minimized. So how are we doing that? But also, okay, well, if that's unavoidable, what then do you need to do to make sure that the business can grow and make more revenue and have more referral and repeat business?
Yeah. We spent a lot of time on this last year because in the first, say, year of business, you know, growth for us was quite quick and there was hardly any
lost anyone.
Yeah. So then when you start losing clients, you really feel it because you're like, why don't they want to stay with us?
Most small business owners do, and that feedback thing, they take it really personally.
Absolutely. So we then had to look at, okay, and I guess in my mind I needed to get comfortable with there's always going to be an amount of churn in a business, always. But if you're looking at what that number is, have a look at what the industry average is for your industry as well, which we did, and we learned, okay, so we can probably minimize it a little bit. But what are the clients that are leaving, like why? Why are they leaving? Is it because of their own business structure or, you know, goals or whatever it is, cash flow? If it's just they can't physically afford it or they have no need for the VA, there's nothing we could do or have done to change that.
Like in real estate, right? If someone's selling or moving back in, not much you can do.
Yeah. But if there's ones that are actually really unhappy with their VA or with our management, it's like something needs to change. And you probably, you know, there might be one or two that you're just never going to keep happy. That's just how they are. But if there's a few there that are like, okay, they're really unhappy with something, why? And that's why we did so much work on our recruitment process and our client management, because there was holes there that we had to fix. And we've done a really good job at that in the last year. And then we've kind of hit that revenue ceiling. We kept the same amount of revenue every month for a few months. And we had to look at, okay, so the churn that we were losing, can we minimize that more? And then if we bring on more sales, because what we were losing, we were signing up. And that's why we hit
which
that.
Is super common. Yeah. Like, you know, that those stages of business that you get to, you're just on the hamster wheel, or you're putting some on and you're losing some and you don't feel like you're moving forwards. Yeah. And so, you know, I know you spent a lot of time on this, but you mentioned around recruitment. I'm imagining that's more of the VAs.
Yeah.
Have you done much in the way, because, you know, you said sometimes it's like a personality clash or, you know, just not the right people. Like, you know, have you done anything to reduce churn in making sure you've got the right type of clients as well? Because I think that probably comes into it is, you know, I know that for a lot of startup businesses that I've worked with and probably even over the years for myself, right, you just take on everything because, you know, you want to be everywhere and doing everything and help everyone. And also you want the income so you can get to your break-even points or start making money out of it. Yeah. But then sometimes you end up working with really unaligned clients or maybe the type of clients who do tend to churn. So have you done much around that?
We have. So we had to really look at our packages and what we were offering in terms of VAs and the hourly, like how many hours. We used to take on any client for any amount of hours, like we'd make it work.
Like 2 hours a day
and it just got so painful. Like the ones that the most painful ones are the ones that really, only need really minimal support. And like, I want to help everyone, but it just
isn't for that 2 hours investment.
And they monitor every single minute, and it's just not. the ones that work really well, like the full-time clients or, 20 hours a week, anything more than like, say, 20 hours a week, it works really well because you get a VA that's really dedicated to that business. They're working hard. Also, having that elite package where it's more specialized roles, you're getting someone to do a specialized role. That's what the client needs. So when they're feeling that immediate pain of like they're a specialist in website development, for example, it's like they're feeling that. So they're feeling comfortable that they've got someone with 20 years of website development skills. But also with our recruitment process, we've put a lot more questionnaires, personality check-in with the VA to
minimize the chances of a mismatch.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of work, but it's really paid off. Yeah. We've also got to look at the match as well. Like when a client comes to us and say, look, it's just not working out. We want a new VA or we want to leave completely. It's like, okay, why do you want to leave? First off, is it the VA match? We can easily like replace that VA. Sometimes we've given that VA to another client because it's matched up with what they needed and it's worked so well. So sometimes it's just not aligned. Those two people just are not aligned to work together.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't know that until they're in the business working together for a month or two. And yeah, it can feel painful to have to replace a VA for that client in terms of like the client's pain in doing that. But if it means that they're getting that support that they need, then, and they've probably learnt a few things along the way as well, of what they actually wanted the role to look like, what sort of person they needed.
Oh, gosh. I mean, I remember my first VA went in and said, I want this, but I quickly realised I haven't asked for the right things and the right skill sets in what I actually want day to day.
Yeah. And we've put a lot of things in place as well with really, questionnaires, but our alignment call from from sales into recruitment, because we were getting people, we would sign them up for a VA and they'd say, yep, I need this, this and this. And then they have the weekend to think about it and they're all excited that they're getting this VA and they're like, hang on a second, I wonder if they could also do this and also do that. So then when we go to recruit, we had to add that alignment call in to make sure that this is the actual job description we've got. This is the ad that we're going to put out there. Is this what you're looking for? Because we would start recruiting and then they'd come back to us and go, oh, but actually I would really love it if they could also do this and also do that. And it's like, hang on, we've just spent 2 weeks recruiting for someone. Yeah. And now you've changed,
So you found that adding in that alignment call and makes you have the better fit for the recruitment, which increase the service and the turn, right?
For sure. Yeah. And sometimes, I don't know why a lot of people think this, but they want a unicorn. It's like you wouldn't hire...
Who doesn't?
I mean, we all do. And occasionally we can find them. But it's like if you had a receptionist come in to join your office, would you be like, I want the receptionist unicorn, and if it doesn't work out, they're not that unicorn. I'm just never having a VA ever again. It's like, no, you would rehire. You would look for that next person. But with a VA, they so many people have this magical thing in their head that they're going to do everything in their business. And it's like we can certainly try and fill a lot of those gaps in that one person, depending what the role is. But you have to pick out the things that you really want them to be like really great at. And then if you're willing to train them on other things, like a bit of zero reconciliation, great. If you can train them in that, sure, they can do that too. So I think it's just communication we've found is like everything with signing up clients, getting them aligned on what they can achieve with getting a VA, and communication between the client and VA as well.
So it's almost like there's the expectation management piece in there that can help reduce some of the churn along the way.
Yep.
And you mentioned somewhere in there around like feedback.
Yeah.
So what do you what's your gauges of feedback in the business to get that pulse on what the clients want?
Yeah. So we've got questionnaires that we send out like you do. And surveys that just ask them, are they happy with their VA? Obviously, they can email us at any time, contact us and let us know if there's a slight problem they're dealing with, or so just that feedback loop of what's happening. Are they happy? Did you know we've got all of these courses available for your VA to upskill? Or
do you look at those, or is that something your team looks at?
My team look at them, because there's a lot now. So my team look at them. We've got a couple of VA managers and also like client success manager. So they're looking at it and they're flagging with me if, something's going really well. I think because I've got a lot of clients on Instagram as well in my DMs, like friends and people that I've worked with previously, you know, they'll always reach out in my DMs as well and say, oh, Jess, it's going so well. Can't believe I put this off. Or so that's always really lovely to hear. And we always really like to communicate to our clients that if it's not working, like we can't solve a problem if we don't know about it. So we would much rather know that you're not happy with something, or, you know, something you'd like us to talk to the VA about. You know, we can't do that unless we know that there's a problem.
Yeah, and I mean, you're usually more than happy to resolve it. And I think that's that shift of like, you know, the whole saying, you know, the customer's always right. I don't know if that applies so much these days, but I think it's like being customer service focused. Like I know I see this a lot in, especially in the property management space. It's, you know, a lot of property managers aren't operating in a customer service friendly type of way. It's us versus them, and it's very combative, and that's why so much conflict occurs. But I love that, it's like, okay, well, let's approach this and see how can we solve the problem and come at it from, okay, well, let's get the feedback constantly. Like it surprised me how many businesses I go into. There's no feedback mechanisms other than, you know, if someone complains or leaves a bad Google review, we're like, oh, we did do surveys a few years ago, but we don't do them now. And sometimes people go, oh, like we want to increase our fees. And I'm like, okay, well, like what's the sentiment like? Are your clients happy? You know, what's the pulse check on that?
Yeah.
And so it might be, doing some feedback. Do you have like, would you say you have metrics around that? Like, do you measure the customer satisfaction, or do you have NPS or anything like that? Or is it more just feedback that you receive? And
more feedback, yeah. The team, when we do our monthly meetings, the team put it all together and give me a score. So I'm not sure if that's put into the NPS system, but it's, we're just getting the feedback and seeing what we can improve that way.
And does that become like a benchmark for you guys and like to continually improve upon that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We also really love to hear when the VA is happy with the client as well. But it's might say 7 out of 10. No, yours are always.
What do I need to do to make it a 10?
Yeah. But I think that's where having an agency managing that relationship works really well as well, because it's such a cultural thing for Filipino people to not speak up if they're unhappy.
Yeah, so everything's fine.
Yep. And yes, I know how to do that, when really like they might not know how to do that, but they're too scared to do that. So they, you know, will reach out to their manager and say, oh, you know, my client said this, I'm not sure what it means, and I've Googled and I've YouTubed and whatever. And it's like, we can help them. Of course, we encourage the VA to like speak to the client. But if it's something that we can jump in and help train and, you know, monitor that for them, we're jumping on any minor issue that could become a big fire later on when it really shouldn't have.
Yeah. And I suppose, okay, so that's like thinking about how you reduce a lot of that churn in a proactive way. Obviously feedback, you know, then redesigning parts of your onboarding process and, you know, day-to-day processes to make sure that you've got those things then nailed and embedded.
Yeah.
But as you said, there's obviously then ones that you can't avoid, right? For whatever reason, they've sold their business. They don't need a VA anymore. Or, you know, a lot of those problems that are coming up now that you wouldn't have had maybe in that first year or two of business. So now that, like, do you know your churn rate for your business where it stands? And now you know, like, what, you know, you need to be putting on to get over that hump. And so what have you done to get over that hump?
Yeah. So churn rate for outsourcing agencies is like 10 to 15%. And we sit about 8%. And I would love to get that to like 4%. Don't know if that's possible or not. I think the thing that really is like not bugging me, but like if a client sells their business, like obviously there's nothing you can do. They don't need a VA. But I honestly think in every single property management company or real estate agency or any company really, there is work for a VA. And if you really want to grow your business, then why wouldn't you have a VA doing those minor tasks, those mundane, boring things that still need to be done? And you focus on getting a couple of extra clients. Like so many people, when they leave us, it's like, oh, I just can't afford it. And it's like, but you can't afford not to have one. That's what I'm like, I would love to like get into the nitty gritty of like, And maybe that's like with Christy moving back into her role, maybe we can get into that with people a little bit more. It's like, okay, what could we do to actually...
That offboarding process.
Yeah, the offboarding, but it's like, does it even have to be an offboarding process? It's like, if we could train the VA to do certain things, maybe it's a bit of lead gen for them, or what else is the business owner doing that they don't need to be doing so they can focus on growth? I truly think every business needs a VA. So it's like when they decide that they don't need one, it's like, hang on a second, why? You're going to go back to doing everything that they were doing for you? Like, I just think that's crazy.
And I mean, I suppose it comes down to the role and what that VA is doing, and this probably leads into how do you create a really wow experience, because there's other VA companies out there that just do the process, right? So it's like and that was one of the questions I had down for us to talk about today. Once you're through the churn and improving the service, it's like, okay, well, what would you do in like an ideal world if it was like, no issue with like money or time or anything? Like, how would you create that like ultimate wow experience that would not only wow the client, but, maybe help them generate leads to make it so sticky that they wouldn't want to leave?
And this is something that I have really thought about with AI coming and everybody talking about it. And, it's just on everyone's Instagram feed. It's here and it's not going away. It's only going to grow. And there's such a discussion, I guess, in my world around AI is going to take over the role of VA. I don't agree with that 100%. There is an element of that will happen. But if we can have our VAs powered by AI, because realistically, a business owner like you and I, we will implement a bit of AI, but we still want our person to message and like, hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do this? If they are then powering all of these AI agents to do certain things, for the business owner, that's going to make that VA super sticky to that business. They're also going to be a lot more productive. They're going to be, the outcomes of what they're doing is going to be huge.
And also, the business owner doesn't have to become an expert at AI because they can use an operator.
A lot of them won't. Yeah, I think of when I worked at Chadwick and we got Agent Box, and it's like, this does so many things. It's going to be amazing for the business. Do you think any of the agents really took the time to learn it, implement it? 8 years later, I was, I would get asked a question. I'd be like, that's in place. You just have to like click these few buttons. Oh, I didn't know that was there. Like, they don't want to be doing that sort of stuff. So
start to get adoption and full utilization by everybody.
But if there's a person there that they can message and go, hey, like, can you do this or send this vendor this email about whatever, like, they would much rather do that.
But like, what's your opinion then? Like, controversial for you and your business, what happens when the AI can do that? Like, what happens when I can go to, well, it's probably there in some ways already, like with the AI tasks and stuff. It's like, okay, well, do this for me or send this message to this client. And it's so well set up and integrated that it can do all that. Where do you then see the role of the VA coming in for a lot of those clients?
And maybe it is that client, more client services, more hands-on support, more personal touch points. I think that's really the only thing that can, I guess, with the way that everything is going with AI, the things that will stand out to people are human conversations, human touch points. It's that phone call that they're talking to a real
like AI callers. Like,
I know. So where does it stop?
Well, I know where it stops because we've just gone through this trend where all the AI in the world, and we're all just making like these model toy versions of ourselves on the AI image generator. So, I mean, you think AI is going to take over the world, but we've got all the power in the world probably at our fingertips already, and we're just making
pretend dolls,
making and sharing pretend Barbie doll versions of ourselves.
Yeah, hilarious.
But didn't like Sam Altman, didn't the creator of ChatGPT, end up like he put something out when when people were doing the Simpsons ones, like at the AI generated, you could put your family in the Simpsons, right? I think he like put this thing up, guys, can you all just stop? Like, this is crashing our system.
Yeah.
You guys are all just busy making photos for nothing. The AI has so much more capability.
Yeah. It's so fun.
I know. But I mean that's the thing. And that's a trend, right? People are jumping on and doing it. Meanwhile, I'm using AI for, creating guides and things that are helping people make money in their business. But,
Yeah.
I did.
So where do you see?
I did make one for myself.
me
I just
too.
didn't post it.
I
It
just
on the
wanted to
trend.
have a go.
Yeah.
But so where do you see your business going in the discussion around being more
Customer-centric,
Yeah.
customer-focused.
because you do already provide a lot of hands-on support, and you've also had to pare that back a little bit because there's only so many hours in the day that you've got. You created your mastermind, so people have the resources available to them. They've got the calls available to them. But where do you see your business going?
Yeah, it's interesting, like with looking at like me coaching over the years, like I wouldn't say pulled back on the customer focus. Like I'm always very customer focused and very outcome focused, and I'm probably more critical and like, am I delivering enough? I want to really make sure that the business is always moving forwards. Like sometimes I'll have a coaching session with someone and I've maybe listened and supported and helped them work through whatever they were working through in that moment. And I finished going like, oh, I really don't feel like I gave them enough to move their business forward or whatever.
Yeah.
But then I'll get a message from them and go, oh, thank you so much for that session. I was just, just what I needed. So I think sometimes I have to probably check in, and I have started doing this more, like what the client actually wants, because sometimes what I think they want and what they actually want is different.
Yep.
So like in that example, right? Like, so I'm going into a coaching session going, cool, I've got to make sure that that they're moving their projects forward, that they're putting new clients on, that they're, getting a good ROI out of investing in a coach.
Yeah.
But sometimes just by asking, a couple of questions at the start, so where are you at? What are you really hoping to get out of the session today? And this person was like, oh, I don't know, like I'm just like lost and overwhelmed, blah, blah, blah. So what they needed in the moment wasn't like more pressure of growth and more things to do. It was actually the support and guidance to work through the current challenges that they had, and kind of unload and be that sounding board. So it's interesting. Like, I do client feedback as well, and I don't have. I would say I don't actually measure my churn rate currently, which I probably need to be doing.
Yeah.
I would say I don't have a lot of clients stay with me for a long period of time.
Yeah, that's great.
Which is good. But I have noticed, because I've got a new mastermind program now, and that's, more of a people got to come in and they've got to drive a bit more themselves, and it's a bit less hand holding from me. There's been, we've had it for 4 or 5 months now, and we've like had a couple of churn in that time. Some for, I just can't afford it. A couple, I just don't have the time to put into it. And I don't think those clients are gone forever. Like they can see the value in it, and they can, they've enjoyed what they've got out of it.
Yep.
But it's made me, like, going back to what you were saying, it's going to go, okay, well, I want to make sure that churn rate is as low as possible and people stay in there and they retain in there for a long period of time, but also that they're out there then going, like, loving it and raving about it to other people. So going back to the start and making sure I've got the right people in there, like I've had to look at, okay, well, in that intake and discovery process, I have to put a question in there around, okay, so how much time have you got to commit to this right now? And have you got the budget to invest in this? And like those kind of questions are starting to, weed out a few people. So maybe I haven't probably sold as many people into the program as I might like to, but I probably ended up with less that, are going to churn within a few months, because they're like, oh, I thought I had the time, but I don't have the time. And so that's been a whole new interesting process to go through and learn.
Yeah.
But I suppose as far as then the people that are in there, I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself at the moment. Like, I don't think I'm doing enough of them. I want to do more and I want to add more. And I've got so many ideas of how much, more I want to make it. But again, I need to probably check that and go, okay, well, are the clients happy? Yeah. Right? And we're probably due to do another like survey out now just to see, where everyone's sitting and see what they want to see out of it. Because I could be thinking, oh, I've got all these great ideas of things I want to do, and that's not actually what they want in there. So yeah, it's a constant learning process. And I probably think that the iteration of where it is now might not be, the exact same iteration of where it'll be in 12 and 24 months' time.
Yeah.
I think that's why feedback is so important. Like without that measure, we can only assume, and we all know assuming makes an ass out of you and me, and maybe sends things in the wrong direction. Like I said to you earlier today, I feel like, people need more growth strategies in there, right? Because people, want more leads and that. And I'm finding a lot of the conversations are more around, the day-to-day business. And I'm assuming that I need to put more growth because I want to see their businesses moving forwards because I track the metrics of everyone I'm working with. I'm like, I want to see them have more growth because I want more for them, right? But they might be perfectly happy with having that supportive space and being able to talk about things that aren't just growth. So it's a good point for me to go, okay, well, I need to ask them. I need to find out to create that customer-centric program.
Totally. And I think you'll have to be okay with some people not, like, it's up to them to put the work in as well.
I can't, we track. So that's the one thing we do track, right? So with our sessions, like we track, okay, well, who's showing up, who's not showing up. We reach out if someone hasn't shown up in a few weeks just to check in with them, make sure they're okay. Not in a like, you haven't shown up type of way, but like, hey, we haven't seen you in a few weeks. And that's where like one of them, we reached out and they're like, oh yeah, look, I love it, but I just don't have time to commit to it. I'm really like drowning. So I said, no worries, it's supposed to be a 12-month thing, but I'm like, I don't know, if someone doesn't want to be in there, I'm not going to quit. Like, I'm sorry, you signed up for 12 months. So it's like, cool, you just go, you come back when you're ready.
Yeah.
And I gave them a free session with Carl. Just, hey, like, just have one more one-on-one just to help you get unstuck from wherever you are.
That's great.
And I hope that they'll then come back at some point in time.
Yeah. Do you think they will?
They will in some capacity. I don't, like, for them, again, and this is part of that onboarding and probably alignment call that, you're talking about, looking back for that particular client, I think they'll come back, but in a different capacity. Probably like they would suit much better one-to-one coaching than being in the group program.
Yeah. And some people do.
Yeah.
Like some people prefer one-on-one. Some people prefer the group. So I think it's,
Which is great now because I've got an additional resource and consultant to do that. So the part of the reason I was drowning in one-on-ones, I need to create a group format, but also for that benefit of collaboration and people being around each other in community. There's so many people in there that just love the community and love each other in there, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But I was like drowning in one-on-one, so I needed to create that as a solution for me to be able to serve more people. But yeah, like there are still people that, I'll do discovery calls with, like, oh, I don't know, I don't feel comfortable like sharing in front of other people, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Now we can, I do have some one-on-one capacity, or like I can put that onto Carla now to, she's got really great experience as well, and she can help those people on a one-on-one basis.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's so good.
But again, I think that's like making sure that you've got the client that's going to be aligned with the right service offering that you're doing.
Totally. And I think, I mean, it's great you've got her now to be able to do that, but you don't want to go back to a model where you just fill in her calendar with one-on-ones that, aren't revenue generating, because if they're or like thinking of leaving, or I guess it just depends what model, like if it's an additional model that you're setting up for Carla.
Yeah, well, it's almost like looking at that as a different profit center on its own. Almost like we want to get her and her role profitable, then we could put another person on.
For sure. Yeah,
it's sort of separate to me and my time in the group program. But yeah, it's creating that customer-centric thing. I mean, I suppose if we go to the question, okay, well, like what would, completely wow them? Like I just want to make it easier for them. Like so many of my clients are just overwhelmed with the juggle of scaling a business, which is, which is like why we're having these discussions, and I've got so many like resources and tools and templates in there. Like I just want to keep refining and making it easier so they can come in, follow these exact steps, and like they're going to be able to unlock more time, more clients, more profit in their business. Like it's all kind of there, but as far as making it like even more awesome, there's more refinement for me to go in and do. And like I almost think sometimes I say to clients is sometimes, and I think about this myself, is like what would my absolute ideal client review say, right? If someone like left me a thing on Google, like what would that say? Like I was so wowed and blown away and I had this experience. Like and then trying to design.
Say?
Hermione's amazing. Of course. No, I think it would say, this program has transformed my business and my life. Something along those lines.
Yeah. But I feel like your program is amazing. There's so many amazing things in there, but that person has to do the work. And this is where like I struggle with as well with clients that leave Agency Inc. and they didn't onboard someone properly, or they didn't train them, or they didn't have great communication with the VA. Or maybe that VA didn't work out, but they didn't give us the opportunity to rehire. People would be coming into your mastermind and only doing some of the work, or, you know, for the program to be amazing, they actually have to do the work themselves as well. So it's like, how do you create this incredible business when so much of it actually relies on other people doing the work as well?
But there's that, I mean, that's where I'm like, I just want to keep making it easier and easier. So stuff is like, it's so plug and play that it's just hard because things are never generic, but having so many things available to them, right? So they go, cool, here's my challenge. And like, cool, we've got a template resource or tool exactly for that. That's going to save you, you know, you're putting this off because you think it's going to take you 10 hours to design this process that you need to onboard a VA as an example, right? Like, here's the process. It's already mapped out. All you need to do is go and fill in these gaps and it's written and you can go. And being able to shortcut so many things for them that they're getting stuck and bogged down in. Or whether it's, you know, if it's growth, they're like, okay, well, like, I don't know where to go and like, I don't know where to find the leads, right? Okay, cool. Like, well, here's the options that you've got. You know, you've got these 10 really common lead generation sources that work for business owners, right? And I can talk to all of these and we train all of these and there are resources in there with tools and tips and dialogue. But I want it to be almost like so plug and play that it's almost like, okay, you want to, for you and your business, like this is where you've got the most opportunity. Great. Here's the steps, the templates, you know, and maybe even at some point having a service where it's like, okay, well, you know, there's a psychic service that could do that for you. So, you know, doing goal down the track, like it would be making it, and it's so easy and a no-brainer that it's stupid not to join and you would not want to leave.
For sure. Yeah. Do you feel like a lot of your clients, like we're talking about, you know, the client experience, would be quite reactive in their client experience?
Like for their clients?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I think like it's interesting when people, when especially the property management businesses that I work with, they go out and like, oh, I know I can do this better. And they want to create this amazing experience. And they might start and then they get bogged down in the day-to-day and the managing and the scaling and all of the other things that happen. And then it's often not till they get a bit bigger and they start to notice the churn and the lost service. And when, you know, the service isn't maybe amazing, it's just okay. People are going, their clients are leaving based on fee and they start to go, oh, like now I've got some holes that I need to plug, right? And then when they're a bit bigger, then they go, okay, well now I need to really refocus on how do we deliver the ultimate customer service and mapping out their customer journey and really looking at all the touch points. But then also making, as you scale, like how do you then make sure the team can deliver that service that you want to be delivered to the clients to plug those holes, which comes down to like those systems and processes that you've got in place for people to follow, and then really good management to make sure that they're following the process that put in place, like all the stuff that we talk about. So I think they want to, but they, like all of us, like we get bogged down and busy with the day-to-day or just focused on some other bright shiny objects when it's like it has to come back to the customer experience, because we, you know, in every area of our life, right, if the experience is like, oh, it's all right, if something better or cheaper comes along, if the experience and you don't have a lot of relationship and loyalty there, like you're probably going to jump on to the next thing. So I think it's our job to make sure that our service is meeting that customer expectation and is as sticky as possible for that client so that they never want to leave unless they have to for an unavoidable reason.
Yeah. Have you ever had an amazing, like as a customer yourself of, I don't know, maybe you went on a holiday or, I don't know, a service or something that you, a coaching program, have you ever had this incredible service where you're like, oh shit, like I need to, you know, fix what I'm doing, or wow, just like you went away and told other people about it?
Probably, but I can't think about one in this exact moment that's going to like jump out at me. I mean, sometimes it's actually just doing the basics really well. I remember hearing, I think it was like Amanda Stevens, I saw her speak at an event. She's big on customer service. And she said how she stayed at a hotel and there was so many like, oh, and like Mrs. Stevens and blah, blah, blah. And they were like amazing at everything. She goes up to her room. There's no towels in the room. So they've got all this wow stuff, but they haven't got like, what's the basic foundation? They're staying in a hotel. You go to have a shower. Oh shit, no towels. So that obviously then none of the rest matters if you've got, I mean, it might give you a little bit more patience and understanding that, okay, they've stuffed up. But I think like, I don't know, like when a business really nails the basics and they make it
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be wow, but when it feels seamless and like you don't have to worry. Like it's like when we had Kirsty from, Made Home on here, and she's talking about how she's got those clients that like, I don't want to see a box. I just want to leave my house.
Yep.
Come to my new house.
I mean, that would make me go, like, if they nail that, I would be like, far out.
And sounds like she's nailing that, right?
Totally.
And so I suppose it might not be, maybe the wow, it sounds really basic, but maybe the wow is just like absolutely nailing the experience so that you're delivering on the customer promise that you've actually gone out there. Because I think that, what's that saying, I was going to say over-promise and under-deliver. That's not right. Don't take that as
the opposite of that.
The opposite of that. So under-promise and over-deliver. Yep. I would say the reverse is actually happening in a lot of businesses. A lot of the property management business I go to, you've got a BDM out there going like, oh, we do this and we're amazing and blah, blah, blah. And then it gets into the portfolio and there's, an overwhelmed property manager who's trying to juggle everything and keep in touch with everyone and probably actually doesn't have any relationship touch point with that new landlord because the BDM's the one that's done it and they've never even like spoken to them on the phone until, now the tenant's late in rent.
Yeah.
Like it's like, okay, well, no wonder things are getting dropped, and then that landlord's maybe like, oh, well, there's a cheaper option. I'm going to go with the cheaper option. So I think if you can work out how to absolutely nail your service promise.
And keep it simple. I think have a few things that you say you're going to do and do it really well. I think
it's hard in property management.
Yeah,
so many
things go wrong.
Yeah. What's that? It's like a frictionless experience, right? What's that? Who says that?
Oh, I don't know. But like, I think if you think of something like Uber, right? You jump on an app, you say you want to go to this place right now.
That's a frictionless experience.
And they say, yep, we can do that. You can go in this sort of car or this car or this car, and here's the amount. And you go, yep, I choose that one. Great, they'll be here in 2 minutes.
Oh, and also please don't talk to me and make sure the temperature's cool.
Yeah, and I'd love a bottle of water. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, basic things, but they're basic. It's what they say they're going to do, and it always
delivering on what it says it's going to do, which is so. I think so. We can probably think of other experiences where whatever you've been promised. I would be able to think about more experiences where I've been promised something and that is not what has been delivered, and you've just felt completely disappointed and disillusioned. Then of like, okay, well, I don't really want to spend money and do that again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that coming back to for our businesses, like I'd want to make sure that for my clients, I should probably go back on what I said before. My aim is actually not to keep that client for life, because I do want to make clients self-sufficient and have the education and knowledge and business where they don't need me forever.
Yeah.
But I would want to make sure that it is, it's frictionless as far as like onboarding, offboarding, but being able to get the resources and tools and movement they need in their business. It's like, it's just, they don't have to worry, because there's so much worry from all of them. And like, how do I progress? How do I move forward? Like, am I doing enough? All the stuff that we go through.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I think that's why we have, last year we focused a lot on changing processes and procedures and recruitment processes to make it a great experience as much as we can, because once we put that VA in with the client, a lot of it is out of our hands on how the VA acts, how the client acts, the onboarding, things like that. But we want to make sure it is a great experience either way. So if something does happen and the VA doesn't work out, they're happy enough with us to go, yeah, I really liked working with you guys, and we understand that VA didn't work out. Can we please rehire? Instead of them going, well, no, I'm not going to rehire.
But I think that's the sentiment that you've had. Like, I know clients that, maybe they've had a VA with you and the first one hasn't worked out, but they're like, oh, Jess and the team have been like amazing.
Yeah. And that happens more times than, the opposite. Thank God. Like we have put a lot of work into that. Even clients that have left for their own reasons, or maybe the VA didn't work out and they decided to leave instead of rehiring. We've now been getting referrals from that because they've got a friend that needs a VA, and they're like, well,
Oh, actually, that's something that gets me fired up, because this happens a lot in property management businesses. Like, clients leave and the offboarding loss management experience, like even the fact it gets called a lost management instead of client offboarding, I think is a nicer way to probably phrase it, where it's like, hey, this should be a nice like handheld process, and sometimes it is because like that landlord has had a change in circumstance. They're moving back in, they're selling their home, And half the time it's literally like, yep, okay, cool, we've got your notice, no problem.
Your keys, yep.
Pick up your keys on this date, right? They might have been with our business for 5 years. You know, there's no thank you gift. Like this, the sales settlements get thank you gifts. There's no
That's
thank
so
you for being with
true.
us, because yeah, maybe that person is not going to be your client right now. But like you said, they know other people. Like you want to make sure that that's as frictionless and beautiful. And
they could have had a great experience for 5 years.
most of them have.
And
But then they're going to leave feeling like, oh, well, don't let the door keep me on the way out.
Yep.
You've just like literally left an envelope at the front desk for them to come and pick up their keys. They've paid you tens of thousands of dollars to manage the property over
and there's
the years.
no thank you.
No, the director hasn't called, the property manager's barely said anything, and there's no, when are we ever speaking to them again? That contact's not, in many businesses, getting put into a CRM for a follow-up, and like, oh, hey, a couple of weeks later, how'd you go?
Another property.
Yeah, how'd you go? Did you move back into your property? How did it all go? Look, do you have any plans in the future to, you know, move out again? Do you want to buy more investments? Do you have any friends or family we can help? Like, there's so many more opportunities that can come from that client. And I'm the same.
Like, lost opportunity.
Yeah. But one of the clients I was talking about before, who left the PMBA because she couldn't afford it early in the year, she's referred me to other people. Right? If I'd have gone to her, nah, you have to, you know, pay your 12 months and F you, I wouldn't have got those referrals, would I?
No.
And she'll, you know, she'll come back in some way, shape or form, and she needs help in the future.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lost client is not a lost client. Even that experience of offboarding a client is something that needs to be massively considered in a business for your repeat and referral business in the future.
And that's where I think, with everything moving to AI that everyone keeps talking about, those are the things that people should be focusing on. Having that real client service model of like, what does that offboarding look like? Like, that can't be done with AI. Absolutely, elements of it can be, but if the business owner or even the VA that, you know, the client might have worked with for a few years gives that client's client a call, like the landlord, and really thanks them for their, you know, their time and being with them, or organises a gift to be delivered, whatever it may be. That's
once we're moving back in, like, it blows my mind. Like, this one business, we looked at it, they had 30 clients move back into their properties in the last, 6-month period we were looking at. I'm like, oh, has anyone called them to check how their move-in's gone? Oh, no.
And they're going to need to sell later, probably, or might get 6 months in and decide that they need to rent it out again. Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, they might have another property, or their brother does. Like, it just so it's specifically for real estate. It's probably one of the common things I see that not many people are really, really nailing, because it's like, oh, well, they're lost, they're dead to me.
Even the link between sales and property management, there is such a broken link there of, you know, the departments working together for the best outcome for the client. So often it's like, oh yeah, like, I'll just get the agent to give you a call, and the agent doesn't follow up, or there's just, it's always been like that. And I think the agencies that are doing it well have that really, those two departments working really closely together.
Oh, because otherwise they operate in silos, and it's so silly because all your clients are the same people. Like, and I said this in the exact workshop I was talking about actually before, is that from the outside public perspective, looking in, there is no separation.
Yeah.
So if, yes, they do have a average offboarding experience from, say, PM, there's a good chance they're not going to call the sales team for a look-in, because they're going to go, oh, well, you know, XYZ agency just didn't even really, barely got a thank you from them for using them for all those years.
Yeah. Even the big franchises, I think, like, you know, if you've had a bad experience with, you know, a particular franchise, even if you move, it's like, oh no, I'm not going to go with that. Even though it's like different.
Perception is reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, like, coming back to, like, it's, I think if we summarize that, it's really, okay, well, how do you take the feedback from your clients to create that experience? Like, look at how you can then reduce any of the avoidable churn through improving the service. But then, I mean, even then, maybe with the unavoidable, so getting the two confused, with the avoidable churn, reduce that. With the unavoidable churn, really looking at that offboarding experience to make sure that, well, if that client can't be with you right now, like, making sure that that door's always open and that exiting experience is really strong and positive. And then just running that filter by really going, okay, well, like everything has to be customer focused, because without the customers,
you've got no business.
you've got no business.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. And it'll be an interesting one as we scale further, because I know that, I know tech businesses that, I've seen and I've worked in particular, I can think of, where I used to work, and now the service, that now that they're much bigger and they're owned by a bigger international conglomerate, the service level's gone completely to shit. And I've had people say to me every day, like, oh, like, XYZ is, like, I just can't get through to anyone, and the service is really bad, and oh, we're probably going to leave now. And like they're so big now that there's,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. Well, it probably is going to at some stage.
Oh,
and they're going to, our churn's a bit too high. And we need to put more service in. We need to now go back and put more customer service reps in to service that. But then to reacquire those clients is going to be, or reacquire new clients is going to be a massive challenge.
Yeah.
When they're already gone and locked into another service provider, or another service provider comes on that is providing amazing service. And I know, especially in prop tech, service levels are really important. Like when people are looking at, new pieces of tech to put in, it's okay, what's the customer service?
Yeah.
Like I was talking to Andrew from Flick It Over recently, right? They've got like a 7-minute turnaround time on their customer service, like their in-person customer service, not their bot. Like someone will respond to you and answer your question in, maybe it was even 4, I don't know. Sorry, it was really low, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, we've got to be focused on that. We've got to always be focused on
I love
getting back to people so that they're not waiting, because we know if they're waiting, they're getting frustrated and they're not happy with the service. And I think there's power in those metrics. That's why I asked you about metrics before. Is like, what metrics are you tracking in the business to make sure that you have some benchmark as to your customer satisfaction and sentiment?
Yeah, I think for us, it's definitely about, I'm going to start creating some more bots in the business, and one of them is a client one, because there's so many questions that we get asked on the daily that they could get the answer to really quickly. And not that I want to take that real customer service bit out of it, but if they can get an answer, the speed of response for sure. And then when they've got that bigger challenge that we need to step in and have the conversations, have the Zoom, we've got the time and energy to do that, because all the other little questions are being answered by AI. I think that's where a lot of property managers, because they would get the same sort of questions, daily.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I was just going to try and find our end question.
Oh, do we have one?
No. Yeah. Wow. I think there's a lot in that, and probably a bit of food for thought for everyone listening. I know that there's been a few like in the face moments for me on,
and
accepting feedback, but also, okay, am I asking for feedback? Am I open to feedback? Because that's, another side of the coin, is being open to the feedback and actually knowing, there's still so much more to learn, especially from our customers.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's wrap it up with something a little bit lighter.
For sure.
What's your ultimate customer service ick?
In my business, it used to be, it's not so much now, but we used to get some clients at the start ask us to ask the VA something. And I'm like, have you, they're your VA in your business, unless it's like a serious issue that we need to talk about, I'm like, you need to have that communication with your VA. You need to work together as a team. You should, everyone should be feeling comfortable to have conversations. And it would be basic things. If it was something bigger, then, how are they liking their role? You should be able to jump on a Zoom and say, how are you finding things? We used to have this one client, he's no longer with us, but he would literally, and this is where I had to put in a lot of boundaries and processes and things, because he would email me at the start of every day, hey, today, could you ask the VA to do this and this and this? And I'm like, hang on a second, where did that communication go wrong? Of she's your team member,
So did that change your expectation setting?
Absolutely, yeah. Why did he think that was okay?
Or service that you were providing?
Yeah. So it's no longer happening, but I remember 2 years ago that being like, are you kidding? We're the bottleneck now, because you think you've got to ask us the question to then ask the VA, and I'm the middleman. That can't happen. So it's no longer an ick, but I just remember at the time going oh my God.
So it's more of a customer ick than a customer service ick.
Yeah. Customer service ick. I don't know. I got one the other day with Australia Post. Like, I got a parcel delivered and they texted me twice. How was your experience? Out of like 1 to 5. And I'm like, I got my parcel. Like 5? But to get 2 text messages, I was like,
Because you didn't respond to the first one.
maybe, yeah. And I thought it's
too much customer service.
Yeah.
Too much feedback.
yeah, like what sort of experience? I don't know. You either deliver the parcel or you don't. I don't know. That's
Well, I don't know,
thing
because I get frustrated if, like, I know that they come, but then they leave the thing and
you're home.
and I'm home.
Yeah, see, I don't have that experience because I know they're coming.
That gives me the ick.
Yeah. What about you? Other than that?
Oh, I just think a customer service ick is anywhere where you're made to feel like an inconvenience and you're the one actually there being a customer. Like, you know, when you go to, I don't know, like you go to a restaurant and it just feels like you're massively inconveniencing the waiter's time, right? I love when you go to a restaurant and like you've got the banter and you feel like, oh, like, you know, you're like their favorite customer, you know? But I think, anywhere in any experience, whether that's restaurants or services or whatever you do, where you're made to feel like an inconvenience for being there or you're putting them out, like that's a massive ick.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, like, when you go to America, like everywhere is so heavily customer service focused. Obviously, they've got the tipping and stuff, but even still, places that don't really have tipping, like they're just still very customer focused and friendly. And I don't know, Australia, there's so many places where, especially the post office, you're literally made to feel like, I'm here to pick up my package, and they're like, duh, 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 duh. Like, and sure, they probably have a lot of shitty people to deal with, but
still,
I
think for me, like tradies is a big one. Like when you're doing a renovation and you literally inquiring, you're calling, you want to give people money to do a job and they don't get back to you, or you know, they don't show up. Yeah, I have $1,000 here. Would you like it to do the thing that you say that you won't
take my money?
And it's like, I just don't understand. Text back or ring back and say we don't have the time, or I can't fit you in the time period that you need. Here's another person.
They need some help scaling because they're under the pump.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, they're not focused on their customer-centric experience.
Totally. They couldn't care less.
But reputation is everything, right? So, you have one bad experience and you're going to be much more likely to tell many, many other people.
Yeah.
Well, lots of food for thought for today.
Yeah.
Let's hope we have a good experience at the restaurant we're going to tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll let you know.
We'll be writing home about that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening today. We hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and be sure to like and subscribe and share with another fellow business owner who, I was going to say, needs to work on their customer experience, but that's not very nice.
No.
Who might benefit from the conversation we've had today. But thank you for listening. We'll be back next week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.